Hey, I'm Demi and I'm living in Cape Town, South Africa. I work from my home studio space here in Capri. What I do is I'm an artist and illustrator. I work freelance and I got my degree specializing in fine art photography a few years ago. And for the last 5 years, I've been pretty much trying to set up a home practice. And it's reached a point where I've learned some really important skills that I think I could share with other artists. I'm putting these videos out there for people that really do want to push their creativity, learn a new skill, which might lead them into something else. And yeah, we're here to learn together. This is one of my first videos I'm putting out. This one will cover one perspective drawing. It's a really nice way to prompt yourself to just get going on a drawing, whether you're feeling blocked or stuck. I think we can very easily get a bit stuck and wrapped up in our heads. So let's hit it. One perspective. Let's go. Alright, let's begin by seating ourselves at the desk, gather a couple of materials. You can pretty much start with anything you want. Make sure you've got a ruler, a couple of pens, markers, crayons, pencils, anything really. Let's just get to know a few basic markers in one perspective drawing. Firstly, you have your horizon line, which you can just plot down on a page. Then you have your vanishing point, which you can just place in the center of that line. There you can see horizon line and our vanishing point. Okay, let's just do another example further down. Draw the same thing, just a bit smaller. And now, go ahead and draw a nice big square. From all corners of the square, draw a line towards the vanishing point. Okay, now go ahead and do the same thing with the rectangle on the other side. Now you can basically plot markers that'll draw your eye towards the vanishing point, but not end at the vanishing point. Here you can see I've got a bit of like a building situation going on here. So I decided let's put in a little road so we can see as if we were looking down a street towards the vanishing point. There you can see a vanishing point and your horizon line. Okay, Mensa, let's get in. I'm using the Saunders Waterford series. This is an incredible watercolor block. Just gather some materials, a couple of rulers, different markers, pencils. Go ham. Whatever you feel you want to use, bring it out. Alright, what I'm doing here now is I'm just prepping some paper. Here I am using electrical tape. You can also use washi tape or masking tape, but for me I find that the electrical tape doesn't tear the paper. So a little tip there for anyone that gets super frustrated and completely damaging their paper when using masking tape. Okay, once you've created your borders, go ahead and draw your horizon line anywhere on the page. Then mark your vanishing point at the center of that line. Okay, you can go ahead and divide your page. Similarly to the previous sketch of the road, go ahead and draw diagonal lines to create that marker in space, to create that perspective that shows as if you were looking towards the vanishing point, standing or driving on the road. Okay, stay with me. Here we're plotting in some lines that run towards the vanishing point. And if you really think about it, driving in a car, looking off into space, to the point where you cannot see no more, every line and shape and marker runs towards that point in perspective. So this is basically how the eye works. This is when you can get a bit creative on what you want to include on your road, maybe a mountain in the background, a couple of poles with some electrical lines running through. Normal things that you would see on the side of the road, driving through the Veld or up the East Coast here. Let's go ahead and put a little fence all the way along. Here you can really see how perception works and how you can create dimension by using a vanishing point correctly. You can go ahead and add a few clouds, some grass. There you have your basic sketch. Whatever you prefer to use, I'm going to be using ink, and I'm going to keep these black and white just because I think it'll really show you the basics without complicating things too much with color. So go ahead, use a pen, markers, whatever you're using, and just draw over all sections of pencil. Go in and add some texture, however you would normally work. This is totally up to you. This is your style. You can even pause the video at this stage and just really enjoy capturing it exactly how you would like to capture it. Something you've maybe seen driving up the East Coast or up the West Coast. Okay, another hot tip, masking fluid. A really talented printmaker and my absolute Liffy showed me masking fluid a few years ago, and it has been a game changer. Once you're happy with your illustration, go ahead and remove the tape. You can actually keep the tape as well. Sign your illustration and voila. I'm going to use this page for 2 drawings and I'll cut it at a later stage, so we can just go ahead and start the next one. All right. Now what we're going to do is set up our next one, look at the center of the page, and then add your vanishing point just offset either left or right of the middle of the page. Okay, we can pause the video here as well. Let's have a look at what I've created. Basically, I began by drawing sort of a web of lines that runs through the vanishing point, which is offset. Now you can see I sort of discovered that it looks like a cityscape if you look upwards. You'll soon see what I mean as we go further, but basically plotting lines in the necessary places to create perspective. These are basically just building blocks and shapes that run towards a vanishing point. Now you can actually have a good look at how masking fluid works. If you know my work at all, you know I love points and dots and pointillism in general. So let's cover the skyline, blocking out where we might see stars. Basically what masking fluid is a fluid that's initially very liquidy, and you can add it in the areas of your paper where you want to block out white sections. Basically it dries, and then you can rub it off at a stage once it is dry, and it'll cancel out all those areas where we want the page to be white. Just make sure it dries properly. Let's have some fun with this. Really, I mean, you can either copy me exactly as is, or you can create your own lines. However you want to do it is totally up to you. So imagine you're looking up at the sky and you're in the city, and the way that the buildings move away from you is almost as if you were looking towards a vanishing point. Again, it makes sense. If you can imagine this and really have a good eye for it while using these techniques, you can create a pretty striking dimensional drawing. Okay, buildings. But again, I just want to show you how you can create texture and dimension with just simply working into a drawing and adding different elements. Okay, again, I'm pretty happy with that. I think I can pull those off, just fix and clean things up a little bit. And now what we can do is remove, if you are working with a watercolor block, you can remove your paper. Okay, let's put those aside and start our third and final one. Once you have planned and prepped your borders, go ahead and create your horizon line. Mark your vanishing point, and now what we're going to do is create an interior. So this is going to be quite interesting. Stay with me, copy exactly as is, and pause the video if needed. Basically, what I'm doing is plotting how I will create a room using a vanishing point. So let's imagine you're standing inside your house, looking out of your window towards the ocean, and you look beyond that point until you can't see no more. But when you're in a space, this can get quite confusing, especially if you want to set up a drawing. So let's keep it quite symmetrical. We've just added a couple of lines, certain lines you don't necessarily need, but definitely add that crossover in the middle of the page. It'll give you an idea of how to create a box in space, as if you were in the box. There you can see I've started off with just a simple rectangle / square. And then at each of the points of the rectangle, draw a diagonal line towards the edge of the page. You can start to see that there's a bit of an inside box sort of feel here. Okay, now you can really follow me or create your own sort of decor. But as you can see here, I'm creating a bit of a fireplace. I'm thinking it might be nice to do a lounge sort of setting, a little bit of a 60s, 70s era sort of situation. If you know me, you know me. All right, so that worked out quite well. There's a little plant. Okay, now let's do, what are we doing here? Okay, yeah. Now we're gonna work on a little couch. As you can see, I'm sketching in a way where I'm removing and adding different elements, but everything moves towards the vanishing point. Pause the video here again if you feel like you need to run up to scratch. I mean, you could add anything you'd like really, but you can see the carpet in space. It all runs towards that perspective, but does not end. Once you've inked up and covered your basic sketch, you can remove the pencil, all the pencil work that you've done, and start adding your ink layers, or color if that's what you're doing. Light source is always important. For me, the light is coming from outside, but also the light is coming from the lampshades above. So as you can see, the shadows are cast downwards mostly. Liquid ink is great in the way that if you allow it to dry, but you can really create some interesting textures. So you can see along the walls, the carpets, and yeah, just really giving it that texture, that warm feeling as if you were in the space of this little home. As you can see in the background there, I've created an ocean. I kind of left it at nighttime. It's pretty dark out there, but I think that also shows how you can create a vanishing point within an enclosed space. And it doesn't only work for outside areas. All right, very cool, very fun. I mean, they could definitely do with some color, or they could just be left black and white to keep them quite nostalgic. Okay guys, there you have it. 3 different types of ways of using one-point perspective in space. I use one-point perspective a lot in my illustrations, and I just feel like it helps when you get to a point where you don't know how to solve something or move beyond a point. Usually there's some answers, and I think you just need to sort of go for it. Here you can see center vanishing point, off-center vanishing point in a cityscape, and lastly, vanishing point within an interior. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any ideas on videos you would like to see, or any suggestions for topics that you'd like me to cover, please leave them in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and all that jazz, and I will see you in a couple of weeks.